everyone, this is Kurt ASMR. I hope you're doing really well today. So in today's video I'd like to do a whisper ramble to talk about my wedding and honeymoon. I've been promising this for a while, so I would like to tell you guys about that, do a bit of a story time. Before we start, this is my scent of the day. I did a short about this, but I've been wearing this all day. This is Talisman Sports from the Spanish brand Taos, and this is the bottle. I love this curved bottle. This is a citrusy fragrance. Top note of Amalfi lemon, and it has ginger, red apple, musk, cedar and oak moss. It doesn't last very long at all though. There's a lot of citrusy summer fragrances don't. If you've got any recommendations for strong ones, let me know, because this does not last. I've been like topping it up all day because it's the first time I've had a chance to really wear it in the summertime. So but yeah, that's my scent of the day. The spray is pretty good. Anyway, that was my scent of the day. So yeah, in case you don't know, I got married in April. It's June now, and I didn't do a story time because it was just, obviously I was very busy and I was still processing everything, and it was a lot, and as all weddings are, I'm sure. But also, I actually hurt my back immediately after I got back from my honeymoon because I overpacked my suitcase and gave myself a slip disc, which is actually getting better day by day. Sorry about my squeaky chair. And I worked out today, and so far I've been okay, but I was in a lot of pain. So yeah, I haven't really sort of been in the mood to talk about it, but yeah, it was amazing. I was so lucky. So I don't know where to start. I guess I'll just start with the whole wedding week. Like, my wife, or fiance at the time, she found the wedding venue on Instagram, and I'm not going to tell you where it was, but it was in Scotland, which and it was sort of out in the middle of nowhere, so it was very rugged. It was by the sea, very close to the sea, and I'm actually cleaning my Mac because I just sprayed fragrance all over it. I don't want it to like blow up or something. Anyway, yeah, we got married in Scotland by the ocean, and she found this beautiful small wedding venue. Now we really wanted just a small wedding. So my wife has 3 kids, and one of them could make it. So grown up daughter, and only one of them could make it because her other kids had commitments. They're all adults now, so like one of them's doing a master's, for example, and yeah, it's tough. But then me, I don't have a big family either, and yeah, we also don't have a lot of money, so we decided on a small intimate wedding. So I actually I brought my mum, and then the plan was we were going to have a reception for the rest of my family, who is literally just I have 2 sisters and my brother-in-laws. So that was the plan, and we were supposed to get married on a Thursday. I guess Saturday is the most popular day. I think one of my best friends got married on a Thursday as well. Yeah, I think they did. Thursday seems quite popular, but anyway, I think marriages happen all days of the week these days. Anyway, we had to get up to Scotland. I don't live in Scotland. I live a fair distance away from Scotland, so it involves a long drive or a long train journey, or a flight and then a train. There's different ways you can get there. But my then fiance, she's American. We are long distance, so she had to fly over, as well as her daughter from the USA. Now her daughter, because she's an adult, doesn't live close to my wife or fiance at the time, so she came separately. So we were going to meet up in Scotland, in one of the big cities in Scotland, and yeah, well, I can tell you it was Glasgow. I mean, it's a big city, so it's Glasgow. venue was a few hours away from there, like 2.5 hours away. So the plan was to meet in Glasgow on the Monday before the wedding on Thursday. And in fact, I'm just gonna tap on this fragrance. This is a Guerlain Lansdowne Arm because I just need something to occupy my hands with. This is very nice too, very classy. Anyway, we were going to meet on the Monday so that we had plenty of time in case anything went wrong. So I had to go and meet my mum and then escort her up on. We decided to get the train up to Scotland, and then I was going to rent a car from Glasgow to drive to our wedding venue. That was the plan. I'm guessing that was just like the best way because I don't have a car at the moment, so it's just not necessary with my work at the moment and like where I live. Although I'd still actually like a car, it would be nice, but also not really necessary. Anyway, so that was the plan. So we're all going to meet up on the Monday. So me and my mom, we set off on our train on the Monday morning, pretty early Monday morning, to meet up with my wife, then fiance, and her daughter. I'll just start calling her my wife because it's stiff, but she wasn't my wife then. But anyway, I'll just call her my wife for argument's sake. We were supposed to meet in Scotland on Monday afternoon. Now, unfortunately, my wife's flight got cancelled that night. Now, she had a direct flight to London and then a flight to a flight to Glasgow to meet me. And her daughter was coming from elsewhere in the USA. Again, she was connecting via Heathrow as well. Anyway, her daughter arrived fine, but my wife's flight was cancelled. And that's a problem when you're getting married, so that was a bit of drama. She messaged me Sunday evening when she was due to set off and land Monday afternoon. And they had to put her up in an airport hotel. They didn't tell her why the flight had been cancelled. And because there's only one flight a day from where she lives, they had to get her on a really complicated route where she had to fly. She had to get on 3 flights, 2 in the USA and then, or 3 in the USA and then the two in the USA, 2 in, I guess 2 to the UK, 1 back to London and 1 to Scotland. So, there goes my iPhone storage, so I had to delete some stuff. So I'm going to try not to make this video too long. So we met up with my wife's daughter, my mom, so we went to our hotel, and my wife's daughter had a look around Glasgow because she'd never been before, but I was really tired, so I just went back to my hotel and had to bring my mum back to the hotel. We had a nice dinner at the hotel that night, the 3 of us, and this looks funny, what's wrong with this? And anyway, luckily the next morning my wife arrived into Glasgow airport and we were able to meet her. And actually we went into Glasgow because I had to buy my wedding suit, and you're like, why are you buying your wedding suit 2 days before the wedding? But hear me out. So there are several stores where you can actually buy the suits. I bought suits for other people's weddings, and there's this chain of shops called Slater's, and so I've used the one nearer to where I live. They're usually in the big cities, and luckily I found there was one in Glasgow, and they said, we hire suits. So my plan was to hire a suit there and then bring it back the day after the wedding, because we were coming back to Glasgow, and then just drop it off because we were going to Paris and I didn't want to be lugging a suit around Paris. And anyway, I get there and I get into this shop and they're like, no, you can't hire a wedding suit. You can only hire a dinner suit with a black suit with a black tie. You can't hire a wedding suit. And I was like, okay. So I ended up having to buy one, which was a bit unfortunate because it was was a bit more expensive than hiring a suit. Not a lot more, wife was there, and she helped pick out a nice suit for me. But yeah, when they asked me like, oh yeah, when you getting married, I said like, oh, in 2 days' time. They were like, what? When? They thought it was really funny, and but yeah, I was just like, well, it makes sense to me because I don't want to lug a suit round. But at the end of the day, I ended up bringing 2 suits with me because I couldn't decide whether to wear my wedding suit for the reception with my family the day after. So I brought this other suit that I bought for other people's weddings and wore that at the reception. So I way overpacked. Luckily, I was able to ask one of my brother-in-laws to take back my wedding suit afterwards, and so I was a little bit lighter, but still, at the end of it all, injured my back. So anyway, got my wedding suit, so I was happy with that, and we just had a really nice day going around Glasgow. I had to get some bits and bobs, like I wanted a nice belt, so I hadn't really got any nice belts to go with my suit, and bits and bobs, and we just went ahead. It was quite nice. The weather was nice. We were so lucky with the weather, and we just had like iced coffee, and then again I went back to the hotel and had dinner, and so that was our nice, after all the stress, relaxing day in Glasgow. And the next day I had to go and get the hire car to drive to the wedding venue, so I picked up the hire car, but unfortunately I miscalculated like the size of the hire car that I needed. I got one that was way too small for the amount of suitcases. Like, the 4 of us had 2 suitcases. Like the other 3 had 2 suitcases each, and I had one massive suitcase, the equivalent of 2 suitcases, and I got like a mid-sized sort of like SUV, like a Nissan Juke size, and it was not going to be big enough for all our cases, so I had to ask them on the day if they had anything bigger, and luckily they had like an estate car, like a Volvo, that I could rent, but it was a lot more money because it was the holidays. It was like the half-term school holidays, or the Easter holidays, sorry, in the UK. Everything's more expensive then, and the car rental was just like a lot more, so that took a big chunk out of my credit card. But what are you going to do? Is my mistake, and I had to get a bigger car to get us there. So so I did that, and luckily we got all the suitcases in the car, and we set off around lunchtime to get to the venue, because they didn't want us there until it's kind of like a hotel. It wasn't actually a hotel, but it's like they did the hotel thing where it's like you can't arrive until like 4 o'clock. And we arrived, we stopped at this beautiful little town on the way there. Again, this is like 2.5, 3 hours. And it was so remote that they told us we had to stop in a small town that was like the last small town that had any shops, because we had to like self-cater our breakfast and stuff. But they were doing us like a meal. And so we stopped for lunch in a really nice little town, and I got like a burger, and we were just like trying all the cakes, like scones and cakes, and my wife's daughter had never really tried a lot of British cakes, so we were trying all of those, like sticky toffee pudding, scones, banoffee pie, things like that. So it was really good, and we got to the wedding venue about 5 p.m. Beautiful scenery in Scotland, as I'm sure you're aware. And we get there, and it's a beautiful evening, and we got used to the house. Like, it was this house where there were a few rooms for guests. It was like maybe 6 rooms, and there was 4 of us, so we had our kind of pick of the rooms. So we chose our rooms, and had a little bit of dinner, and then we had a nice walk down to the beach. And because this beach was like on the coast, there were like jellyfish washed up on the beach, which was a bit eerie. And then we went home and my wife she chatted to me and calmed me down, and I was trying to be like there for her as well, because I'm sure it was stressful. She'd already been through a lot of stress, so and it's just all the travel planning and all that kind of stuff that I'd had to do for the wedding, and yeah, it's a stressful time. It's hard to like be in the moment in that situation. Anyway, the day the wedding comes, and the morning was pretty normal, really. I had to get up and get some breakfast, but like the funny thing was, like, they didn't have any bowls in this house, house which is like, it was like an old farmhouse, and we were getting married like in the barn with all these beautiful lights, and but they didn't have any bowls in the kitchen where you self-catered for yourself. And I brought my own cereal. Like, I like Special K, like Red Berry Special K, or whatever the own brand is. That's my favourite, with like yogurt. Anyway, blah blah blah. They didn't have any bowls of any kind, so I ended up like having to put my cereal, I think I was going to put it in a saucepan, and then I just decided to use, like, I bought these little Tupperware boxes that I'd put bits and bobs in, and I used one of my little Tupperware boxes. I keep my watches in them sometimes, so I was eating cereal out of this Tupperware box because I just had to have my cereal, because we didn't have anything else, so I think the toaster was broken as well, I seem to remember. Anyway, the wedding was supposed to be about at like 2:30 in the afternoon, and we just had a relaxed morning after that, and we just sort of hung around the house, and then it sort of, as the time approached, got ready. So I feel like I was locked in my bedroom. Like, my wife went to join her daughter, and her daughter helped her get ready it was her daughter's room. So they got ready in this room where it was upstairs, where you come down the stairs for like a grand entrance, and I was just sort of like locked away in my room because it's bad luck to see the bride before the wedding. So I was locked away in the room, but there were bits where I needed the toilet, and so I would like sneak out, and hopefully I didn't bump into my wife, and I didn't, so spoiler alert. But yeah, and it took me ages to I have autism anyway, so it takes me ages to follow instructions, but I had to tie like a Windsor knot for my wedding. That's the knot I wanted. It's like a form, for formal occasions. I wanted to tie a Windsor knot, and it took me, I had to watch loads of YouTube videos to be able to do it, so it took me ages, but eventually I got it. I had my really nice beige suit, and one of the wedding people, the organisers, gave me like a really nice, the buttonhole with the flowers on, and then finally the photographer came, and he knocked on the door because he wanted to do some photographs of me on my own, and of my wedding ring, which is just a really plain, simple silver ring, which I got. This actually came off Etsy from Wales. I think we both got them on Etsy. Like, hers was from New York. And it's really funny because I googled, like, I was looking for inspiration for my ring, and I just googled celebrity rings, and I saw George Clooney had a really simple silver one, although a bit thicker than this, but I thought, it's good enough for George Clooney. It's good enough for me, and I'm really happy with this. Maybe I would have got a thicker one actually, but I have thin fingers, so yeah. Anyway, yeah, I like it. I'm not a elaborate person, you know what I mean? I just like to keep it simple. So, and even if I was like rich, I'd probably, there were some very cheesy rings out there, but each to their own, like some very elaborate stuff, but yeah, I just like simplicity. So anyway, he took some pictures of our rings together, and then again, I went to get locked away in my room, and then finally the registrar came for me, and she just thought, she looks amazing, and they made me go into this room, face these stairs, and then there was a bagpiper who started playing, and my wife came down the stairs and tapped me on the shoulder, and that was the big reveal, and she looked amazing. She had this beautiful, like, a beige dress, not a white dress, which I think was a great choice because the sun that day was very bright, and from a photographer's point of view, like, white dresses can be a nightmare because I'm a photographer as well, so they can be a nightmare because they can like be very overexposed and in bright sunlight especially. So she made a great choice, or she was lucky, or we were lucky, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, she tapped me on the shoulder and I'm so nervous, like, and then we did the ceremony in this barn and it was beautiful. Yeah, I'm still like trying to process the whole wedding, you know. I don't know if it's my autism, but it's almost like I kind of like felt my feelings afterwards, you know. I'm still trying to feel my feelings about it, and but it was a very happy occasion, and the registrar was very funny, very droll, and she was so lovely, and we just had very simple vows, and afterwards the piper piped us out of the barn, and we had some photographs outside, and then we had some beautiful photographs like on the beach, like, as well, so they were absolutely stunning. I can't show you any, obviously, because, you know, privacy and stuff, but yeah, and even if the weather was bad, I think it would have made for, like, I'd seen other photos of the venue and other, you know, other people's weddings at this same venue, and, you know, the Scottish weather and the Scottish landscape, even if the weather's bad, it makes for like some amazing dramatic photographs, like even if it was like stormy skies or windy. I mean, that would have been quite cool as well, you know, and I'm sure this photographer would have made the best of it, because, like, yeah, I saw some people's weddings with like moody skies and they decided they were going to go on a beach anyway, even if it's raining and windy and it's winter, and they had really dramatic photos. So but yeah, we had like almost like, it was almost like sunny Californian sunshine that day, but I'll take it. You know, very grateful for that, because that looked amazing. You know, the sun was shining off the sea, and yeah, so it was a beautiful day. But and the only thing that got me, like, so after the wedding, it was like, okay, now what? You know, we did photos on the beach, and then we were just like, yeah, just hanging out the rest of the day. I guess that, you know, obviously it took a big chunk of the day. It got to dinner time, and then what they'd done is they'd actually cook a meal for you, then you sort of heat it yourself, because it's like a self-catering wedding, and that's the bit I couldn't get my head round, of not having like a dinner with loads of people. I was still expecting like people to turn up for dinner, but that's not what we'd arranged. But it's just like every wedding I'd been to was a big dinner, but yeah, but it was a really nice, like, pre-prepared meal of like beef and sticky toffee pudding, and I don't drink, so I had like a sort of non-alcoholic or non-alcoholic prosecco, and that was the wedding day. It was beautiful, it was intimate. Our respective family members had a great time. I was exhausted though. I think it was not just the day, but it was the whole build up to everything. It's almost like I'd been holding on to everything, and then it sort of all piled on top of me that evening, and I just felt so tired. And the next day we had to check out of the wedding venue, because obviously they're going to have more weddings to do. We had to check out, and then by 10 o'clock, and then drive back. So we kind of like drove back, stopped in the same place for lunch, but we stopped at a castle which had a cafe, had a look around this castle. There's some amazing castles in Scotland. I don't want to tell you which one, but it was an amazing castle. And then we drove on, and then I was feeling so tired that I was like, but also it was like we were having our reception in Edinburgh with my family, not Glasgow, the next day. This was the Saturday. So my original plan was to drop off the rental car at Glasgow Airport again. Then we'd all get in a taxi to Glasgow, get the train from Glasgow to Edinburgh, to a new hotel in Edinburgh, and then hang out in Edinburgh until the next day, when we had a reception lunch with my family. But I was wondering whether I could drop the car off in Edinburgh, and I was going to do that, but then I changed my mind because I was getting really tired driving. So I ended up sticking to our original plan, and dropping the car off at Glasgow Airport. We had to squeeze all our suitcases into this taxi to the Glasgow train station, and then I got on the wrong type of train as well. I thought I'd booked like a nice train that takes people on their luggage, but I got on like this rattly local train, and we all didn't have anywhere to sit. I didn't have anywhere to sit, so all my other family sat down, but we had all those suitcases on this little rattly train. Because I got on the wrong train, it was just all the stress. I just lost my proprioception. I should have asked somebody, you know. So that was stressful. So we get to Edinburgh, and we check into our hotel, and it's getting quite late by this time, and there's not many places to eat near our hotel. But we found this one. It was like a sort of Lebanese restaurant, but they did like, my mum is quite a fussy eater, if I'm honest. She'll just eat like plain English food. I'll eat anything pretty much. I don't like mushrooms, but that's it. But I think I had like, it was like a chicken burger with like a Lebanese twist, but my mum just had chips. Luckily they just did chips, but they did the most amazing like chocolate brownie with ice cream and sticky toffee pudding. My mum had it, and so it ended up a really, again, a bit of stress finding a place to eat, and it ended up really nice. So that was good, because my wife and her daughter had decided to go into Edinburgh City Centre because it was her daughter's first time there. I'd been there with my wife before, but her daughter wanted to explore, so we were just happy to let them go their separate ways. And then the next Saturday, the day that we were meeting my family, we'd actually booked to go on this big tourist attraction called the Royal Yacht Britannia. So the Royal Yacht Britannia is like the ship that the Queen used to sail on, and it's now like docked in Edinburgh, and it's a tourist attraction. You could just go around, and it was a great time. It was like £20 to go in, and you have to book in advance, but it was a great time. I didn't know if I'd find it that interesting, and I didn't think there'd be that much to it, but there's loads to it, like the history, and you can see the Queen and the King's bedrooms where they slept, like I think they used it on their honeymoon, and how it worked, like how they got the vehicles on there. And yeah, if you ever go to Edinburgh, I recommend it, because it was a great morning, you know. And I did wear my other suit jacket for that I did feel like a bit of a royal on there, but I wasn't at all. And they've got a really nice cafe on there as well. I had a scone there and a really nice coffee, and like a really nice cappuccino, and yeah, it was great. So that was the day in Edinburgh. And then we had to go and meet my family, where we booked like this like restaurant for like 4:30, because there wasn't any like tea time slots, dinner slots available, so we booked like 4:30 to 7:30. So we met like my sisters, my brother-in-laws there at this nice, it was like a seafood restaurant, but primarily seafood, not just seafood, but I had like mussels. It was like the big pot of mussels. I think my wife had the same thing, and I couldn't finish them all because there was so much. There was so many mussels, and I think my wife and my daughter helped me finish them off. I can't even remember if I had dessert. I must have done. It was maybe a cheesecake. It wasn't anything amazing, but the mussels were really good. So anyway, we had a great time with my family, with my sisters. It's always tense, like, because it was the first time my wife had met my sisters as well, and it's always a bit tense, got different personalities. Like, luckily my wife has two sisters as well, so it's kind of like, she knows what the deal is, so with that family dynamic. So yeah, and that was our day in Edinburgh. So we said goodbye to my sisters, and they were like going off to do their own thing in Edinburgh, because we were flying to Paris the next day for our honeymoon. So we had to get like a taxi at like 4:30 in the morning to get our flight for like, it was like 7:15 in the morning to Paris, and we were so tired. But we and my mum was going back with one of my sisters, because one of my sisters lives near her, so or not too far away, not mega close, but yeah, so my mum was being looked after. We just leave her in Edinburgh as well, and so they hung out together. So it was all like working out really well, you know. So, and so yeah, just me and my wife obviously went off on a honeymoon to Paris, classic destination, and also I'm learning French, so we went to Paris, and yeah, we had a really good time. The first day we got there, because I was so tired, we did like a Seine River cruise, but on the cruise I was like falling asleep because I was so tired, and the boat was so relaxing. But anyway, yeah, the first day was great, and the next day my wife wanted to go to this Mont Saint Michel, which was like on the Normandy coast. It's like 5-hour coach ride from Paris, so we booked this like day trip from Paris that started at like 7 in the morning. So I booked it on the Monday because I just wanted to get this long trip out of the way. I mean, we were able to sleep a bit on the coach. It was a nice coach. So we did Mont Saint Michel, which is amazing. I recommend it. I'm galloping through these because I don't want to go too long. But then, yeah, Tuesday we did the Eiffel Tower. The thing about the Eiffel Tower was I was very lucky because the last 2 times I visited on my own, the very, very top of the Eiffel Tower, the summit was closed because it was too snowy. I went Christmas, then I went my birthday in February. It was snowy in December. It was windy in February. And luckily it was the top was open, and I finally got to the very top of the Eiffel Tower, which is, yeah, the views are amazing, you know. Even halfway up the views are amazing, but we did that, so I was very lucky. And that day I surprised my wife with a Citroën 2CV tour around Paris, and he drove us all around Paris, like Montmartre, in his little 2CV, like a yellow 2CV, it's a classic French car. And he drove like us around the Arc de Triomphe twice, and now I always think of like John Wick Chapter 4 when I think of like the Arc de Triomphe. I love that film. I love the John Wick films. So that was that day, and then Wednesday I think we had a free-ish day, but we booked to go to the Louvre, and I thought we'd just like go in, see the Mona Lisa, see a few other things, and then leave by lunchtime. But we were there a good chunk of the day. I'd never seen the Mona Lisa before. I was happy just to see like the glass pyramid, because that's like iconic for me, so that's like the entrance hall. So I felt really lucky to be able to go in there. And actually that day the security staff were on strike because they weren't being treated very well, so I tried to understand what they were saying, but basically they were on strike. They weren't being treated very well. They weren't being given like working walkie-talkies, and these are like security people, and they were being mismanaged and bullied by the management. And I know strikes are a common thing in France, but I felt like real solidarity with them, and yeah, it was quite moving actually. I hope that things improve for them because they do an amazing job. They keep people safe. Yeah, they're amazing, these people, and they're often just taken for granted, and they should not be. Anyway, politics aside, not politics, but it's something that happened. But yeah, the Mona Lisa is smaller than you expect, and you have to fight through tons of tourists if you want to get a picture to prove that you saw it. And so we fought through the tourists. You get your picture, and then you'll get sort of trampled on if you don't move anyway, but there are people like telling you to move on. But we saw, I mean, the Louvre is huge. Apparently there's a statistic that says like if you wanted to see everything in the Louvre, it would take you like 30 days doing an 8-hour day. It's ridiculous. If you want to like read every little, you know, thing next to the telling you what it is, that's crazy. It's huge, and we spent a lot longer there than I wanted to. But you just like, oh, there's Napoleon's apartments, there's another little room, let's just keep going. You keep wanting to explore, and then you end up exhausted. We ended up sort of not exhausted, but it was a lot bigger than I thought. But I'm very grateful that we saw it. And then obviously we had some great dinners in Paris, and we went to see a comedy show as well, about a guy guy who talks about like what it's like to live in Paris, but he does it in English. He's a Frenchman, but he talks about like how to act like a Parisian. It's like a comedy show, and he got my wife up on stage, which she was not happy about. She was not happy, but it was really funny. He was telling her how to dance like a Parisian in a disco, and yeah, it was very funny. And actually that night we met a Canadian couple who gave me everyone they meet, they give like a Canadian badge, so I got Canadian citizenship that night as well, which was quite funny. They were just like these couple that travelled around and give a little Canadian pin badge to everyone they meet, which was so cute. I loved that. And and then Thursday we did the classic. It's such a cliche, but we went to Disneyland Paris, which I'd never been to. I'd been to the ones in America. I'd been to like Disneyland in California, Disney World in Florida when I was a little kid on holiday, but never been to Disneyland Paris, even though it was closest to me. And we had a good time. Yeah, I went on Space Mountain, which I'd been on the other two. I felt a bit sick afterwards, and I like a bit motion sick. Yeah, let me know in the comments if you've been to Space Mountain. I felt a bit sick, and the only thing when I get motion sickness, I used to get it a lot when I was a kid and not so much as an adult, but every now and then as an adult I'll get it. Roller coasters, obviously. I don't go on roller coasters very often, but yeah, the only thing that settles me down is eating a lot, so we had to go to like the big space cafe whatever and get a burger and chips, and I needed to eating like settles my stomach if I have motion sickness, so, and especially like stodgy food as well, so I will just pig out if I have motion sickness. It's almost like it becomes a bottomless hole and I'll just eat and eat. But yeah, so that was Disneyland, and that was quite an exhausting day as well, but we did so many cool rides, Star Tours. One surprise was like the Ratatouille ride. That was great fun. You go around on a big screen as if you're Remy the Rat and you're being chased by the chefs. It's like a big 3D, almost like an IMAX screen ride, so that was so cool. And yeah, Pirates of the Caribbean, Haunted Mansion we did. I was not that impressed. I don't know if it was having technical problems that day, but it kept stopping and starting and stopping and starting, and it didn't flow, and it was just a bit annoying. What are you going to do? We did It's a Small World as well, and a few other things were closed as well, like Splash Mountain and things, but yeah, anyway. Now unfortunately my wife had a family emergency in the USA, so she had to leave a day and a half earlier than planned, and so she had to get an emergency flight back to the USA. She had an ill family member, unfortunately, so we had to get an emergency flight back to the USA. So, I mean, it was really frustrating. It was really sad. I felt awful for my wife and her family. I was frustrated as well. I mean, it's our honeymoon. I'm sure she was too, but like, yeah, it's just one of those things, really, and yeah, it was difficult, so I had to say goodbye to her on the Friday, and she flew back, and I decided I was going to stay a few days longer in Paris anyway, just because I wanted to use up my holiday allowance, and I didn't want to come home. I wanted to have like a bit of I didn't want to go back to work so soon, so I used up the holiday that I had, because where I work is like you use it or lose it, your holiday. So I stayed like like 2.5, 3 more days than my wife did. That was my plan, and I did that, and I'm glad I did, because I actually got a cold as well, so I took a couple of days just to recover and just sit in my hotel and watch French TV and watch French Peppa Pig to improve my French comprehension. It's a great way to learn kids shows, and yeah, Peppa Pig helped me out there, as well as like French versions of The Bold and the Beautiful, Amour, Gloire et Beauté as they call it, and yeah, I got fascinated by French TV, fascinated. And the other thing we missed out on doing together was the Palace of Versailles. I'd already booked us 2 tickets for that before my wife had to go, so I just went on my own. And that was an amazing place. It's one of those places you have to see. It was absolutely rammed with tourists. This was like a Saturday. The only thing that annoyed me was, I mean, it's a lot of walking, and I did like 18,000 steps or something, and when you go down to like the other palaces, like the Trianon and the Grand Trianon, when I was ready to come back, they have these little buses that take you back to the main palace if you don't want to walk, and I was like, I was walked out. Anyway, I get to the guy who's driving the bus, and he's like, "Oh, can you pay?" And I just completely didn't understand what he was saying. I didn't know whether it was like something you had to like. There's like a Versailles app that helps you get round and tells you about the rooms, and I thought you had to like pay in advance on the app, and I completely panicked, and I just like shook my head and went blah blah blah. And well, there was no way to pay for these little buses online in advance. I think I just seen people paying with their little Apple phones on these little standard card reader machine, chip and pin machine, whatever. And I thought, oh, have they done it on the app? No, you just pay on card or on your phone, but I don't do that on my phone yet. And I just completely panicked, so I ended up walking back, humiliated, in a bad mood, annoyed with myself at my lack of French comprehension. I think maybe in future I'll just get out my wallet and wave it at somebody and see if that works, if I'm not sure, because generally it always involves them wanting money from you. So I was just really annoyed. I felt really embarrassed and annoyed that I didn't understand what he was saying to me, because I've been learning French for 5 years. Oh wow, my storage went again, so I'm going to wrap this up. But yeah, Versailles, like, my ego was really hurt. I was humiliated. I was like, I half like wanted like the revolutionaries to come back and like trash the place like they did back in the day, because I was so hurt, and it happened towards the end of the day as well. So I'm autistic as well, so anything like that happens, really, it ruined the whole day, put a dampener on it. It was going great up until then, even though I was like alone because my wife had to go. I was having a nice experience in a place I'd never been to before, and then this happened, and it was like, F this, the day is ruined, and I was tired, and my feet hurt, and so that was the sort of last real touristy thing I did. Again, the following few days, I just wanted to just hang out in my hotel, watch TV, get over this cold. I literally just didn't want to interact with many people, so I would just like literally just relax, hang out, sleep, go out. I'd get quite a lot of takeaways like KFC and Starbucks and stuff, and yeah, just trying to save money as well. But yeah, I did do a couple of videos from my Paris hotel room after my wife had gone, a hotel room tour, and yeah, so you can watch that, and a hairdryer one as well, because I like hairdryer sounds, but no one watched that. So but I like to try new things with my ASMR. So and again, the whole trip we had nice weather. We had some showers, April showers, but generally the weather was really nice. And yeah, eventually when it came time to come home, I got home, and that's when, unfortunately, like when I was trying to jam my massive suitcase like sideways into like a train compartment, and it might have been just the whole build-up of looking this suitcase around various places, but because it was over the limit, so I had to I packed too many jackets, too many t-shirts. I had to jam one of my extra layered jackets into my rucksack. And that's what probably led to my slip disc, which, a couple of days afterwards, I really felt it, but luckily I'm on the mend. That's a whole other story, but yeah, hopefully I don't have to tell you that one again. Hopefully it doesn't happen again, but yeah. But yeah, generally that was our wedding and honeymoon. Crazy, stressful, joyful. I'm happy. I'm grateful. I still like go over the photos so I can like process everything, you know. Because when you're autistic, it's hard to process your emotions and how you felt and know how you felt. And but yeah, it was a stressful, crazy time, as I'm sure everyone's weddings can be. But I'm so grateful. I'm very happy, and obviously, like, we're in the sort of process of the whole visa thing. That's just kind of like boring. I'm not going to talk about that, but yeah, we are doing it. But yeah. Anyway, I'll see you soon for another ASMR video. This was very long story time. I hope you enjoyed, or I hope you fell asleep. You know, if you fall asleep really soon, I'm not offended, because if you fall asleep, it's always a great compliment for an ASMR artist. So if you fell asleep, even after 1 minute, in fact, the sooner you fall asleep to my videos, the better, actually. So, what if I did a face reveal and you were asleep? I'm not going to do that. But anyway, alright guys, thank you for watching. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon for another ASMR video. Please do subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoy my content. Sleep well, or have a great day whenever you're watching.